America, you are beautiful, and welcome into this edition of the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net. If you are not a member, you are missing out. And gentlemen, we've got some new benefits headed our members' way. We've got a new member called Meetin, and it's going to be a place where you can go and not have to be on Google, not have to be on Zoom. It's a patriotic place that's not going to look at your AI and go, oh, we could represent these guys online and take their intelligence and do everything with it. Nope. Meetin is going to be a safe spot for you to do it. Also, Parler, we've got a benefit from them coming, and the Freedom Rewards Marketplace. All of that will be in your inbox in the next couple of weeks as a Freedom Chamber member. It's Dean Owen. It's Rod Martin. Welcome into the Business Pulse, gentlemen.
Great to be here.
Let's dive in right now. The private sector employment came in just a little below. And how much weight do we put inside of this, Rod?
We really shouldn't. We've had multiple months where we exceeded expectations by 2 to 3 times the official number. We get one that's actually pretty close and everybody wants to wig out. And it's absurd. And actually, I wrote a piece earlier this week on the gathering Trump economic boom. And I know people are skeptical about this. We certainly predicted that people would see it a little more clearly by now. And the war had some effect on that. But they're just not looking at the right things. CapEx is off the chart. In fact, that was one of the biggest criticisms yesterday when SpaceX's earnings came out. They beat on earnings, for heaven's sake. They beat on their very first earnings report. And yet you heard traders talking about, but their CapEx is so high. Well, yes, you're building the foundation for massive later profit. And in multiple directions. Certainly AI expenditures were up, but also Starship development and assorted other things that they're working on. This is all good. That's what you want. That's what the One Big Beautiful Bill was for. We want to encourage companies to invest and to invest in America. And there's a little bit of lag time between when they cut those checks and when there are actual jobs in plants. But those are coming fast, and we are seeing it across every sector. This is going to be an economic super cycle. And one of the things that we haven't talked about a lot, but deserves some discussion, is that the defense super cycle is already here. And, we saw Maria Bartiromo's interview with the CEO of Lockheed Martin the other day. They are ramping up not just incrementally more missile production. We're talking about several times as much missile production. They are moving, we're running through the American stockpile of systems like ATACMS. Those are older. They're targeting that almost entirely at the export market now. We're moving to this more advanced PrISM system and a whole range of new systems that are cheaper, better, and easier and quicker to produce. And America's defense industry is stepping up for that. We're gonna see some amazing things over the next few years. And in that same vein, the Secretary of the Navy, end of last week, announced the largest submarine contract in American history, 5 new Columbia-class boomers, 9 new Virginia-class attack submarines, and each of those with the new Virginia payload module that helps us make up for the gap from the retiring Ohio-class SSGNs. In fact, the Navy just announced they're going to reclassify 19 Virginia-class boats as SSGNs rather than just traditional attack submarines. That's a huge boon. It reinforces the case for the Trump-class battleship, and it's just bringing jobs home like crazy. By the way, you let a contract like that, you give the companies enough money to be able to expand their lines, to hire people, and to train them. And the way we've done defense procurement for years has made that nearly impossible. So this is a huge win for the American worker.
Dean, do you think it's just a matter of the American public just wants the immediate gratification of social media right now? I saw it, I need it, I want it, where's it at? And they don't have the patience anymore?
That's part of it, but there's another part that we don't think about is how many people are being deported.
Yes.
Noticed some news about ICE at the airports, and just easy catch. You know they're not armed, and it's easy for them to do that. And the numbers are staggering. It's six figures a month now, and they're going at this. It's something like 2.5 million people self-deported, and I'm not sure how many we have deported ourselves, but it's still a very big number. And you take that kind of number out of the workforce, and it starts to it causes some shrinkage, and it does. And but we've got to go through that. We've got our immigration laws right now are absolutely draconian, and they need to be for a season. But that season will end, and then they'll go back to something more rational. But for now, we've got some very bad actors in this country, and the administration is doing the right thing, have pushed the spending bills. The CCP will be the third largest standing army in the world once fully operational, and we need that. So, but you start talking about pulling millions of people out of an economy, it's going to have an impact. You've also still got some federal workforce shortages and reductions in force, and so there's a lot of that stuff going on right now, and we're in this transition stage. AI is having a whole lot to do with it. It looks like AI agents may put entry-level bookkeepers and tax preparers out of business, and it looks like that's going to happen. So when you have that, but that does free those folks up to find something more productive to do, and it's just transitions. We go through them, and for us to turn this economy around, and and you really can't compare a whole lot the numbers, because the BLS, like we always said, take the L out of it, because it's all BS. You can't count on, So let's look for the revised numbers for May next month, probably. See what then we'll have some real
Absolutely.
numbers.
Rod?
There.
Go
Let me
ahead.
just interject. This is really important. Kicking all those illegals out absolutely has a negative effect on BLS numbers, but it doesn't have a negative effect on the economy. If you want to bring down the price of housing, get rid of the 20 million people who are taking up housing that would otherwise go to citizens. Prices will come down. Second, wages will go up, because you've got to actually hire Americans, or, if somebody on a green card, somebody on an H-1B, okay, fine. But you're going to have to shift that hiring dramatically toward Americans, and there are fewer total. So you end up with higher wages and a better standard of living, and in the face of lower housing costs. So all of these things are working together. Even the GDP number, everybody was complaining about the GDP number. Look at the internals of the number. That reflects all this money that's going to CapEx. That tells you that we're going to have a boom in subsequent quarters. So yes, it all has an effect, but it's more a statistical effect than an economic effect, and the economic effect is entirely positive.
Rod, make this make sense, and maybe it dovetails into what you just said there. There's rumbles inside the Federal Reserve that they say it's the perfect time to raise rates. Yay or nay?
I don't think Kevin Warsh sees it that way. Now, if some miraculous way he does, he is not unaware that Paul Volcker laid the foundations of the super cycle that came out of the Reagan years precisely by slaying inflation. And so, yes, that's a prerequisite, but we have to be realistic. And Warsh is in understanding that, supply and demand is not inflation. Growth is not inflationary. What's inflationary is printing money. Inflation is everywhere and always a monetary phenomenon. And we have been debasing the currency at a staggering rate since COVID. So they might have to do something to get a handle on that, but I actually think we're moving in the right direction on that. I don't see Warsh raising rates. I'm not sure that he cuts as quickly as we hoped, but that's where it's going. You know, if you slay the inflation beast, then you don't need the high interest rates. And pretty quickly, you've got borrowing costs back at a more normal level such that the boom just gets hit with a bunch of gasoline on the fire. And that's where we're headed. It probably won't be in the next 3 months, but it's coming.
Dean, your thoughts?
Well, I was actually looking at Truflation this morning and going in by category and which categories are showing the highest level of inflation. And the highest one is
Yes,
travel and
that's
leisure.
right.
It's at like 3.5%. And yes, gasoline's up, fuel prices, transportation. But there's plenty of places in the economy where there's deflation. And I really I don't trust the BLS number. I don't know how anybody in their right mind could. And I don't know why we're still using that. Why is somebody not blowing that whole garbage system up? But they're doing it. So tradition does slow, and federal government moves at a snail's pace. Eventually, I think Kevin Morse will get there because he's not talking about truflation, but he's talking about everything that truflation does. He's talking about using real information, use it real time, measure correctly, measure broadly, quit calling people and going, how much do you think you're putting your house rent for? They're still doing that. They're sending people to grocery stores when you've got an internet and you can run an algorithm. And if AI will tell you what
I
prices
think
have
this may
changed.
be the first time Dean's
why
ever
we're doing
broken
that,
the
I don't know.
character here. So mark that, Mike, our producer, Mike, on this show here. That was absolutely stunning and wonderful. I loved every minute of it. We're going to shift gears here now. I want to talk about the Michigan primary. And I want to also have this kind of fold into itself with the Martin report, which I received with your interview with Frank Gaffney, the piece you guys did about what this means for America. And is it a big bellwether, Rod?
Well, there's, good news and bad news. The good news is for Abdul El Sayed to be the Democratic nominee for the United States Senate from Michigan very likely hands the Michigan Senate seat to Mike Rogers and the Republican Party. This is on that level, if we don't blow it. And Rogers got really close last time. So I don't think we're going to. And we certainly have a shocking advantage in fundraising, and the new Supreme Court ruling that allows more coordination between the party and the candidates. That's fantastic. So, can we win this Senate race? We probably can. And Mike Rogers is solid. And wait, even more than that, that means our Senate numbers might actually go up instead of down. Might not, but we've actually now got a pathway to gains in the Senate, or at least one gain. And of course, the quality of everybody who's left goes up because we're getting rid of Tillis, we're getting rid of Cornyn, we're getting rid of Cassidy, we're getting rid of McConnell. So the overall quality of Republican senators is going to go up massively, and I don't think we're going to have any trouble keeping the Senate majority at all. Now, the bad news is, and we can get to the House, but just talking about the Senate because it's El Sayed. The bad news is this guy is a real Muslim Marxist. This guy is just the worst. He is another Mamdani. And what we're seeing, as we have done for quite a while, and we've talked about on this show, is this red-green alliance where the Islamists partner with the socialists in a popular front to overwhelm the existing system and destroy it from within. That's been their playbook in Russia and Czechoslovakia and Nicaragua and Cuba and Venezuela and even Iran, and of all those and countless others. And of all those places, the only place where the Islamists came out on top was actually Iran. So for the most part, these alliances work in favor of the communists. Well, we now have a significant infiltration of the DSA, and of course they're joined at the hip with Antifa and all the violent guys. We now see the DSA in position to actually meaningfully steer the Democratic Party, which is exactly what you saw in Russia when the Bolsheviks displaced the Mensheviks and then led the October coup, what the Soviets called the October Revolution, that established communism in Russia. And am I saying that El Said is going to go, violently assault the Capitol? No, but I'm saying that's what these people believe in. They're open about it, and they're gaining steam. So the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton anymore. It's not even the party of Barack Obama anymore. It's going off the leftist cliff. We have a huge opportunity for a lot of pickups as a result of that. We also have an opportunity to completely and irrevocably lose our country, so we better take it seriously.
Well said, Rod. Dean, your thoughts?
Well, I could have to echo what Rod's saying there, but the Donnie Larry Wingate I listen to frequently, great speaker, but he calls himself the world's first irritational speaker because he tells it like it is and he's blunt. But he says, if you're sitting in a chair long enough, and even if it's the best chair, the most comfortable chair, if you sit in it long enough, your butt will hurt and you need to move. You'll move around a little bit, but you won't move until you hurt bad enough. Where is bad enough for this to turn this around? I don't know, but it will get bad enough and then it will turn. I think we may be at that point now where we're at maximum DSA stupidity. We'll see if the elections. I feel good about the elections. I think we're going to see America turn out because the Democratic Party's been split right down the middle. Those with a little bit of common sense and those with none.
Well,
So,
when you see people like Bill Maher say
we'll
his
see.
vote is up for grabs,
Yes.
something's happened, and that's to me that's a big sunshine ray breaking through the clouds of what we've been seeing the last decade or so. But Dean, we're running up against a hard break here. Where can people find you online?
OwenCPA.com, OWENCPA.com. Jump online, connect with my team. Let's figure out a way to disinherit the government and not your kids.
Rod, the Martin Report. Talk to me.
Come to rodmartin.org. That's rodmartin.org, where we do daily geopolitical analysis. Fox Business calls absolutely phenomenal. Tens of thousands of subscribers for our daily long form content, hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. There's a reason. So come to rodmartin.org.
Gentlemen, I always appreciate your insight. I want to make sure you guys are fully aware, and anybody and everybody watching this, if you're a Freedom Chamber member, your membership is about ready to get, lit up with rocket fuel because we've got some great benefits coming your way. Keep your inbox open and look for them coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We've got things with healthcare that we've revised that and gotten better on that. Our Freedom Rewards Marketplace, Parlor, Meetin'. We've got some new things coming from Patriot Mobile, so be on the lookout for that at freedomchamber.net inside of your inbox. And if you know somebody that needs to join the Freedom Chamber, jump on them right now and tell, hey, get inside there. Join us, freedomchamber.net. Dean and Rod, it's always a pleasure, and this has been the Business Pulse.
The American dream, full of grit, determination, and unthinkable achievements. Building and owning your own business is a monumental task. A place to find guidance, resources, and connections doesn't exist.
Until now. The Freedom Chamber.
A dynamic and innovative organization established to empower businesses across all sectors. The Freedom Chamber. Find us online at freedomchamber.net. Join us today.